Well, hello everyone, this is Basil the Ortho Biker, and welcome to today's video. If this is your first time viewing with us today, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and hit the bell icon in the lower right hand corner so you get notifications of any videos I may put on in the future. Videos just like this one. It really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it very much. So why don't we go ahead and find out what we received in the mail today. Oh boy, well, as I'm sure you guessed by the thumbnail I have not created yet, we received the Two Brothers Racing Comp S exhaust. I got the Generation 2 2-in-1 exhaust, stainless steel. This main and specific reason I got the Generation 2 as opposed to the newer one is because I didn't want the plastic end cap on the end of my exhaust because, let's just face it, I have a Sportster. They vibrate. And just about anything that can fall off my bike has fallen off my bike because of the vibrations. But this exhaust is beautiful. It's hand welded. It took 5 weeks to get here, and a little caveat to those who may be ordering or thinking about ordering the exhaust: if you do, it will take 5 weeks to get. They don't list it on their website, but they have to make them to order, and that might be one reason why all the retailers are out of sale, because they're selling like hotcakes. And Two Brothers seems to be just barely keeping up with demand as it is. But we get the two header pipes, which are beautifully made. The header pipes come with 18mm O2 sensor holes. They do come with reducers, the 12mm bungs that screw in. They also come with plugs for any of you that have the older Sporties that are carbureted. It also comes with the heat shields. I'm not entirely certain I'm going to be putting the heat shields on mine. I haven't decided yet. I kind of want to keep it exposed so I can get that bronze look over time, as heat tends to change the color of stainless steel as it is exposed to heat over time. And I kind of want that to go with my bike as I add more and more brass highlights throughout the bike. It comes with a nice bracket that attaches to your stock mounting point. So I believe you have to have that part from the stock exhaust on your bike to mount this to in order for this exhaust to fit. It does come with necessary hose clamps. The nice thing is they send you an exhaust spring tool, which is very useful for putting exhaust springs on and almost impossible to do with pliers, I have found out the hard way. I did order a better quality exhaust spring puller, but there's nothing wrong with having more tools than you need. So the plan is to remove the old exhaust, get this installed on the bike. We're going to reflash the bike with my Power Vision tuner over here. I'm going to download a base tune for 2-in-1 and an aftermarket air cleaner, flash it to the bike, and probably do about 2 cycles or 2 fuel tanks worth of auto tuning on the motorcycle, which should be enough to establish a base tune on the motorcycle. And at some point I'm going to get this dynoed so I can see what we have as a baseline before I decide to do a big bore kit on this bike. Now, a lot of videos out there, they'll do a comparison of stock exhaust before and then the 2-in-1 exhaust after. I don't use the stock exhaust, so what I'll do is I'll do a before using the slip-ons, which are Reinhardt 3-inch slip-ons with DK Customs Thunder Torque inserts, and they'll be comparable to a lot of the slip-ons out there. So you'll get a before and after of slip-ons versus 2-in-1s, and I haven't been able to find any comparisons of that. I'm not going to say I'm the first one to provide that, but it's nice to have that comparison out there in case you're curious what the difference in sound of exhaust is like, 'cause I know that's important to a lot of people. Of course, we all know that video doesn't do much justice to the actual exhaust sound of a motorcycle, but I have found that GoPros provide much better sound quality in that regard than do cell phones. So with that said, this is what the bike sounds like right now with the slip-ons on the bike. And as you can see, they sound pretty nice. So next step is going to be starting to remove the exhaust off the bike, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so it is the next day. I got as much done yesterday after work I was able to do. So we've got the entirety of the stock exhaust off and just kind of sprawled across the garage floor. We've got all the prep work done on the stainless steel exhaust. We've got the 12 millimeter bungs inside the O2 sensor holes on the header pipes. We've got the flanges on the header pipes, and we've got the exhaust clips on the header pipes. If I have to say the most time consuming part was getting all of this off, that's the most time consuming part. I would say the two most difficult or pain in the butt parts was getting these exhaust clips onto the header pipes, which is where the C-ring or ring clip pliers, or I forget what they're called exactly, are useful in prying these open and sliding them on. I don't know how people get them on there with their fingers. I've got little tiny girly fingers, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I could not get them on by hand. The other part was getting the exhaust gaskets out of the bike. They make it look so easy on all the other channels and walkthroughs that I've watched, but it's not always as easy as I couldn't just get it to pop out with a pick. It's almost like it was welded to the sides of the wall, and this one I had to chisel under there, wrap it around a pair of pliers, just yank it out, and that was the only way I can get it off. So just be aware that your mileage may vary with the exhaust clips, the exhaust gaskets, and everything else. So what we're going to do from here is we are going to get the header pipes now mounted to the bike, the muffler mounted to the bike, which reminds me I have forgotten to get Loctite, so I'm going to do that here in a bit in between the transition, and we're going to get the exhaust mounted to the bike. All right, let's go. Hello everyone, this is Future Editing Basil. So I had some video of the install of the stainless steel exhaust, but I have no idea what happened to them. While I was editing the first part before the cut, I had half a dozen videos just disappeared. I don't know where they went. It's all gone. I don't have any of the stainless steel exhaust install anymore, so I do apologize for that. Anyways, back to the video. The exhaust is installed. Now there's a few little minor points I want to point out when you're doing the installation. When you loosely attach the headers to the cylinders, I would probably go ahead and put some type of anti-seize on the studs, that way the bolts won't seize on the studs, which is very common and prone to sportsters, maybe Harleys in general, because they use dissimilar metals. I had no problems getting them off this time, and with the anti-seize, the copper-based anti-seize I put on there, they won't have any issues coming off next time, and that's what I want. Two Brothers recommends putting this bracket, I can't really show it to you, onto the bike and then the exhaust. I highly, highly recommend, once you figure out the orientation, attaching the bracket to the muffler, because it is far, far easier aligning this bracket to the bike than it is aligning the muffler to the holes on the bike and trying to get the screws or bolts through those holes into the nut plates. Nut plates can be very finicky things because the threads move inside the clips. They're not always friendly to work with. I have started the auto-tuning process on this bike, and as you can tell by the coloration, I did go for a test ride last night. But what we're going to do now is we're going to ride out to one of my favorite spots, and we are going to go ahead and get a sound clip of the exhaust after install. So here we go. So the exhaust has a much deeper bass tone. We all know that the video does not do exhaust justice. The exhaust is definitely quieter overall, but the bass tone is definitely deeper than it was on the slip-ons. It doesn't really have as much of a raspy sound sitting still as it did with the slip-ons, but once you get on that accelerator on the road, the bike definitely sounds meaner on the road when you're accelerating. It runs smoother overall on the road. It's not as drony on the road as drony. It doesn't drone as much on the road as, oh, hello bug. Did I disturb you? It doesn't drone as much as the slip-ons do on the road. The bike runs smoother. I have lost some torque, but I think that's mainly because of the tune, and I'll get that straightened out. And I might even take it to the dyno. We do have one in Gassville, the next town over. Make sure I'm not stepping on the little guy. I'm very pleased with the exhaust, and I'm sure once I get the auto-tune ironed out after a couple tanks of gas, it'll run better than it did before. So let's go ahead and get on the road, and we'll just do some closing thoughts on the exhaust. I really do love that bronze coloration the exhaust is getting. Kind of matches all the little brass highlights I'm going to end up putting on the bike. Alright, let's get on the bike. Alright, let's get this set up before we get moving. Except, nope, that's not what I wanted. Exit. 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 Alright, auto-tune. Data log. My plan is to get this auto-tune through 2 tanks of gas, and then we'll see where we're at. Alright, so let's pull out on the highway. Because of the tune. Of course, I could also be mistaken. I judge a lot of what this bike's doing by the sound, and it's hard to tell because it's not as loud as the slip-ons. But if I got into a full accelerator, everyone would know I'm accelerating. But you probably can't hear the exhaust as much, or I'm guessing, because I can't hear it as much, which I am perfectly okay with. But when you can hear it, this bike sounds a lot meaner than it did before. The exhaust also shades a little bit of weight over stock exhaust. I'm not sure if I say it had any weight savings over the slip-ons though. Maybe a couple pounds at most. One thing I do have to worry about is while the brake pedal placement is fine, nothing hits anything, the exhaust is free and clear of the motorcycle. Be careful of your foot placement, because I do have a tendency to put my foot too much on the inside, and the first couple times yesterday my foot was brushing the exhaust, so that's more of a muscle memory, rider habit, foot placement thing, but just something to be aware of. And I've also noticed just a slight drop, not much, just minuscule drop in the RPMs at certain speeds. I know running at 60, the current setup I ran at 3250 and at 60 miles an hour, which I will show you here in just a minute. Oh, I'm in 4th gear. 60 miles an hour in 5th gear. It's about 3150. No, I'm not quite at 60. About 3180, 3200, so just a very ever so slight drop. I would say one thing, it's easy to go a lot faster than it used to on this bike because the sound's different. When you shift and ride the bike according to sound, it is so easy to speed. So it's one thing you have to be careful of. like it might rain. If it rains today, like it did last time, I'm gonna be a little upset, because both Google and Alexa said, no, it's not gonna rain today. I don't know what you're talking about. When I do the big bore kit, it will definitely give it a lot more power, and that was essentially what I'm doing, laying the foundation for that big bore kit when I get it. It does seem like it's giving this bike a little more power, or at least will when I finally complete the tune. It runs to the rev range a lot smoother, it runs down the road a lot smoother, and it sounds beautiful. There's not a whole lot of videos out there on this particular exhaust on this particular bike, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you have regarding install, regarding you know, whatever you have about the exhaust. The Two Brothers exhaust for this bike is a thumbs up for me. And of course, the light did not detect me sitting here, so it did not give me a green. Figures. Don't you hit me, truck. Once it seems to get past that initial push, it's got better pull than it did on the slip-ons. So I'm just going to have to work through the auto-tune to get my bottom end torque back. Alright, so thank you for watching. Thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I try to answer any questions or respond to all comments that are left. But anyways, keep the two wheels on the ground, shiny side up, and peace out.